The Galactic Inheritance Bureau's holographic display flickered as Mira Chen stood in the sterile white chamber, surrounded by aliens of every conceivable shape and size. The Vraxian lawyer, a creature resembling a crystalline mantis, clicked its mandibles in what she'd learned was their version of a condescending smile. "Ms. Chen," it buzzed through its translator, "your late uncle's estate has been processed. You are now the sole proprietor of Salvage Lot 447B in the Kepler debris field." Mira's heart sank. She'd traveled 3 weeks through hyperspace, spent her last credits on the journey hoping for something, anything, that might change her fortunes. A junkyard wasn't exactly the windfall she'd imagined. The chamber erupted in chittering, whistling laughter. A Glorbian merchant, its gelatinous body quivering with mirth, translated for others nearby. A human, inheriting trash. How perfectly appropriate. Even the lawyer seemed amused. The lot contains approximately 47,000 tons of deprecated spacecraft parts, obsolete weapon systems, and various debris collected over 3 decades. Current market value, negligible. Monthly orbital fees, substantial. My condolences. Mira signed the datapad with trembling fingers, ignoring the mocking sounds echoing off the walls. Her Uncle Jack had always been the family embarrassment. The human who'd left Earth to make his fortune among the stars, only to end up running a junkyard on the edge of nowhere. Now apparently his failure was hers to inherit. The trip to Kepler Station took another week. The debris field itself was massive, a graveyard of 1,000 forgotten battles and abandoned mining operations, all orbiting a dying red giant. Salvage Lot 447B occupied a small pocket of controlled space, marked by failing beacon lights and radiation warnings. When Mira finally docked her shuttle at the lot's central hub, a converted frigate that served as both office and living quarters, she understood why the aliens had laughed. Mountains of twisted metal floated in organized chaos, held in place by gravity nets, broken engines, shattered hull plating, scorched weapons arrays, and countless unidentifiable components stretched as far as her sensors could detect. Her uncle's AI assistant, a temperamental program named Jarvis, activated as she entered the main office. "Ah, the heir arrives," it said dryly. "Welcome to your kingdom of garbage, Ms. Chen. The creditors have already filed 3 liens. I give you 2 months before foreclosure." Mira collapsed into the worn captain's chair, fighting back tears. But as she sat there, surrounded by screens displaying inventory manifests, something caught her eye. Her uncle had been meticulous, every piece cataloged, every component labeled with not just its origin but its molecular composition, age and structural integrity. Jarvis. Why such detailed records for junk? Your uncle was many things, but careless wasn't one of them. He always said humans had a talent the other species lacked. What talent? The ability to see potential in what others discard. Mira spent 3 days reviewing the inventory, barely sleeping, sustained by stale ration packs and growing curiosity. Uncle Jack hadn't just collected random debris. He'd been selective, pulling specific components from specific wrecks. And as she cross-referenced his records with the Galactic Materials database, a pattern emerged that made her breath catch. Element 347 Zeta. The rarest stable element in known space, found only in the cores of ancient warships from the extinct progenitor civilization. The Galactic Council had been searching for viable sources for decades. It was the key component in quantum fold drives, the next generation of FTL technology. A single gram could buy a planet. Uncle Jack's junkyard contained 43 derelict progenitor vessels, their cores still intact. But there was a problem. Extracting element 347 Zeta required specialized knowledge. The progenitors had shielded their technology with molecular locks that degraded any forced extraction attempts. Every alien species that had tried had failed, turning priceless cores into worthless dust. Mira pulled up her uncle's personal logs, her hands shaking. Day 4847. They still don't understand. Humans are patient. We can wait. We can learn. I've been studying these cores for 30 years, and I think I finally understand the pattern. It's not a lock, it's a test of patience. The log entries detailed decades of careful observation, microscopic analysis, and theoretical models. Uncle Jack had cracked it. He'd discovered that the progenitor locks responded to a specific frequency of electromagnetic radiation, one that could only be generated by devices built from other progenitor materials. In other words, to unlock one core, you needed components from others, and Uncle Jack had spent 30 years collecting exactly those components. Mira worked through 6 sleepless days, following her uncle's notes, assembling the extraction device from cannibalized progenitor parts. Jarvis assisted reluctantly at first, then with growing enthusiasm as the AI began to understand the magnitude of what they were attempting. Your uncle was brilliant, Jarvis admitted. Completely insane but brilliant. He was human, Mira said softly. We're all a little insane. The extraction worked. The first core yielded 1,147 grams of pure element 347 zeta. At current market rates, that single core was worth more than the entire GDP of a mid-sized colony world, and she had 42 more. The news spread through the sector like wildfire. Within hours, her communication system was overwhelmed with offers, threats, and everything in between. The Vraxian lawyer who'd processed her inheritance personally visited, its crystalline structure trembling with barely concealed avarice. Ms. Chen, on behalf of the Vraxian Consortium, I'm authorized to offer you— No, Mira interrupted. You haven't heard the offer. I don't need to. I'm not selling to you or to anyone else who laughed at me in that chamber. But I am opening negotiations with the Galactic Research Collective. Element 347 Zeta should be used to advance everyone, not to make weapon systems for the highest bidder. Within a week, Mira had negotiated a deal that made her the wealthiest human in known space. The Research Collective would purchase her entire supply over 5 years, with Mira retaining a permanent seat on their board and input on how the element would be utilized. But she didn't leave the junkyard. Instead, she expanded it, hiring other humans, salvage specialists, engineers, dreamers who understood that one person's trash was another's treasure. She renamed it Jack's Legacy, and it became the premier salvage operation in 3 sectors. The aliens who'd mocked her inheritance now came to her, hat in hand, seeking contracts and partnerships. Some she accepted. Others she politely declined, reminding them that humans had long memories. Standing on the observation deck of her newly refurbished command center, watching her crews carefully disassemble another ancient wreck, Mira smiled. Uncle Jack had left her more than a junkyard. He'd left her a lesson. Humans didn't just survive in the galaxy. They thrived by seeing value where others saw nothing, by being patient when others rushed, and by never forgetting that today's garbage might be tomorrow's gold mine. The aliens could laugh all they wanted. She'd learned to laugh last.